Good morning, everybody. It's Marty, the JavaScript Party, and it is 8:29, December 11th, 2025. We are finally rounding out the year. It's about to be 2026. I think we're 20 days away, less than 3 weeks away from next year, 2026. So I'm currently working on my ThreeJS project. I work on that 7 days a week for anywhere from about 15 minutes at the minimum to about probably at the absolute maximum 2 hours in a day. So we're currently trying to sort of get all the unique identifiers for every object when you display something. So I'm on my big keyboard, so I can hit F12 and I get my console log up. And so when we add a visualization, we get this table, and it's really awesome. It gives us like some sort of insight into what's going on here. And so, but one of the things that is like got my brain just very excited is like, what can I do to make this value print an actual value? Is there a way to do that? And I will say that like if you one of the great things about JavaScript, like I know people who have only worked in JavaScript probably a grand total of 2 weeks that swear that they know JavaScript. They're like, I know JavaScript. It's because JavaScript is just so easy to start building stuff. It's very, very difficult to master, but it's very, very easy to build stuff in. And when you start building in that sort of way, you don't really get a nice solid foundation. You get like basically Swiss cheese, lots of holes in your general understanding of the language, and it becomes one of the skills that you can kind of pick up that's very, very helpful is recognizing when you do have a gap in your understanding and opportunities to fill in gaps. And I feel like whatever this value thing is, whatever causes that to happen may be a gap in my understanding. Now, I've got some general ideas. Like I know that like there's one base object in in the runtime of JavaScript, and then every object is extends that object, but not in the way of like a classical inheritance. It's a prototypal inheritance. So basically, all objects have the original prototype, and then you can create another object, and then that's if you extend the new object contains that. So in effect, what that means is that they literally all share the exact same methods and attributes, and then when you extend one, all the other ones do that. So do as well. So I think that maybe if I added a toString, I believe the base prime object has a toString, and I wouldn't be surprised if this value is what comes from that toString, but I do not know. It would be really neat, like if I could get this value to print out, because what would be nice is if like right here, I know that I believe this is a camera. This looks like a camera to me. And then I believe this one is a mesh, or it's a array of meshes. And I believe this one is, I don't even know. Now you can see it a little better in this, right? So yeah, so we see it's ST camera ID, ST scene ID. Yeah, so we could do that. If we extend this, we get a little bit more. Oh, so there, and then if we look at this one, oh, we see it's an animation, and then so this one we see it's a scene, right? Over here it's a little easier to see, but it sure would be nice if it said scene camera, and I don't even know what this is. I believe it's probably a render, but anyways, so maybe this Saturday I can really dig into what that's about. I have about 20 minutes today to work on this, and then I need to shift into my work mode I have some important work to do today, but something I'm really looking forward to is knocking that out. But it's probably going to be pretty challenging. Not challenging from a technical perspective, but more challenging from a social perspective. So I'm trying to get myself in the right frame of mind to deal with it. Looking forward to it. It should be fun. Everybody I work with are people I can trust, so that's good. So I do have some changes already. So in the base dictionary, I added an import, and I added the ability to store a scene in as part of a sequence type, and then in the scene service, I'm calling this. I don't want to go through the whole unit test end-to-end test process right now, so I'm just going to keep on moving forward. And I think what we've been doing in order to sort of ferret out the problem or any place that this might need to happen is we've been just changing the name of this. Now I guess we could also say generate ID. And maybe, I was kind of thinking about this, but I think maybe it might make sense to do this. Generate STID. That does the exact same thing. I don't think it matters as long as only one gets called. But then I think what I could do is look up generate ID. And I'm just really thinking outside the box here. And since it's not that big of a deal, because what I could do, so it looks like we have 12 files that generate IDs, and two of them are actually specs, so only 10 files. So in our viz component, so what we could do is we could come in here in viz component. Okay, so we see that in viz component we do not ever we don't ever register it or associate it. Now, in this recyclable sequence, I believe we have two of them, and we associate one of them. And I think the render ID is not, I don't really understand what's going on with this render ID. I know that when we add an animation, apparently we generate a brand new render ID and return it, which doesn't make any sense to me. But we do know that this one is fleshed out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this to STID. And I'm just going to make sure that doesn't break anything. I can't see why that would break anything, but there's always side effects and stuff. So to me, it doesn't seem like it broke anything. All right, so now we have 16 results instead of 17 results. So now let's go camera. I remember we took care of camera. So, and sure enough, here's where we associate it. So I'm going to change that to ST. So I should only change it to ST if I know I associate it. That's it. So it's code that does the exact same thing. And now if I remember correctly, there was a scene. We did it in scene, if I remember from a second ago. So let's see if we could find. No, I can't. Maybe it was. Here, let's look in geometry. So we create a geometry ID. So we don't do this one. So this one we're going to add. Generate. So first things first, I guess, is to just go like this. Okay, so what we are doing is we are creating geometry. So we're going to say this dot recyclable sequence service dot associate object to ID. Ooh, I gotta sneeze. Pardon me, pardon me. And then we want to pass it our ST geometry ID, and we want to pass it ST geometry. And of course it's upset because in our ST, so we'll go over here, we'll go to definition, we'll go to the sequence type, and I believe it was called an ST geometry. I like to do as many of these things from memory as possible. Looks like it actually did it for me. It actually just brought this in just now. No? Oh, maybe we're already using geometry in here. I don't know what just happened, but for some reason it is import. It's up here. It looks like we had already done it because it says I did it 24 hours ago, 2 days ago. I don't know if you can see it. It's very light. But so we added ST geometry. I believe that will fix the, yeah. So that fixes it. And we'll just double check. We'll add a visualization. Hopefully we have another thing. Is this our geometry? So it's very difficult to see in this table. So we definitely want to get that squared away. The other thing is I don't want this table printing out so many times. I would rather it sort of wait. So that'll be a good one. So here's our geometry that we just added. As we see, it's a box. Yeah, and it has to be a box because there is actually a square geometry in ThreeJS. So that is good. So now, I guess to make it official, we'll go back and make this, since we're associating the geometry ID, we'll make this generate STID. Before we hit save, we see that we had 14 in 10 files. Now we have 13 in 10 files. Maybe not. Maybe this doesn't update. That was weird. So we generate STID. I don't understand why the number we have didn't lower, but I don't know. So let's go to Viz component. Now this will be interesting because a Viz component is quite complicated, I believe. But here's where we generate our Viz component ID. So now we want to, we run this effect, and then once we're done, we do this update old. So this one seems kind of screwed up, right? Because we don't have a library. I believe we have a whole different system that kind of keeps track of these Viz components. Because if I remember correctly, we do have a Viz component direct dictionary somewhere. So, but, oh, so we are actually in the component itself in here. So I guess, yeah, I don't know. I think we are starting to expose maybe some oddities within the application. So it'll be this one should be kind of complicated, or might be, has a potential of being kind of complicated. We'll sequence. We know that it will happily take the this.stviz component ID, and then comma, and then we want it to take the. Okay, wait a second. I do not know. Does not look like we ever even use this Viz component ID. Right? Because we generate in the constructor we generate. Oh, okay. No. Yes, we do use it. It's just part of the application. So we don't ever update it to a dictionary, which maybe this would be the right place. There's probably another place where we add it to a dictionary. This one is a bit of an edge case. So because it's a component itself. This is actually an Angular component. And it knows what its Viz component ID is. And then some other thing probably generates the the ID, puts it in a dictionary so that it can be associated. And I think it's because Angular on its own just generates these, based on the template, generates these components, and then I think I have some other code that then goes and draws it in there, and we don't know at this point how it's associated in the ThreeJS world or in the ST world. So I think that's what's going on there. 8:45. Okay, so I think we want to just add this to the there. So, and it's funny because like when I was thinking through this on a full blown, what's the word I'm trying to come up with? Like from an abstract perspective, just sort of thinking through things. I just didn't even this sort of scenario just didn't pop up in my head. That I have a component and it's not really associated with anything yet. Angular just created it as part of the process of building out the template, but now I have to go and associate it with ThreeJS stuff. That is sort of the reality that we live with. But we do have enough information. ST is component ID, and then comma, and then man, this is great. Okay, so what is the viz component? This is the viz component, right? This. And right, that's what this is the viz component. Or is it the render view child? So the problem is the render view child probably does not exist yet. So we might actually need to do it down in here. I think it's this. Now, I don't understand why it's not choking unless I'm already... I think I must already be... Okay, so let's go there. And then let's go to our sequence types. See, okay, so we're already storing a viz component. So it looks like we're giving the viz component 2 entries when it should only be getting 1. So that is definitely something that we're going to have to dig into at some point. This is probably not the point to do it in. But it is pretty wild. So it looks like we create a viz component ID. Now it could be, I don't know, because we should only do it as part of the generation process. So... this has become the table has become almost useless. But this is pretty useful. So camera ID. Now this is weird. Oh, okay, 9 is the value, and then so we only do it once. The viz component is only in there one time, which is kind of weird. It's weird that I had set it up. But I guess, I mean, whatever, we brought it to our attention, and something is weird. It's weird that I'd already added viz component. Maybe it was just something that I had tried and then bailed out of. But now that we have that working, we're going to change it to STID. And the goal is that eventually we won't have any IDs in the generate ID. Now I'm confused that every time I save this, that my number of generate IDs isn't going down, results, but the number of files is going down. So maybe it did go down, I just didn't notice it. Animation service, I think we already did. Yeah, so we're going to change this to STID. It's always kind of a bummer because when you learn, like you come up with like a scheme like this, but now we have 12 results in 8 files. You come up with a scheme like this, and then by the time you get really good at it, it's over. You've done it and all that, and that is kind of a bummer. But you see we have 4 in here, so I think these are easy. Let's just go ahead and get rid of those. ST, ST, because we don't register these, so there's no reason for them to. Like, all I'm trying to do is refactor, like, I'm trying to do 2 things at once. One is get everything associated and find everything that's associated with it, and then everything that isn't associating, so I know if I'm only using generate ID that I'm not associating it. And 2, I want to refactor and be able to delete generate ID. So like I'm kind of doing two tasks at one time right now, which is such a good feeling in your brain. Right? Like I like to do the Rubik's Cube, and every once in a while there's certain moves where it's like I'm trying to get better and faster, and it's just like, ooh, that felt so good. And it's because as I get better and better at kind of imagining where all the different cubes are, it just feels really nice. All right, so now we got materials service. Okay, I think renderer service is the first one. So let's go ahead and do that one first. So we get a base renderer, and at the end of when we add it to the dictionary, so this is the most natural, this recyclable task to me is when I see a dictionary. I feel like that's the pattern I should see. If everything's going right, that's the pattern I should see. Render ID, comma, and then render, right? And I think that's a ThreeJS renderer, but I want the ST renderer, not the ThreeJS renderer. But as you might notice now that like there's a ThreeJS renderer too that has the exact same ID. And that was like until about a week ago, I hadn't really, like that idea, while it makes total sense today, was not. That's not what I want to do. Oh, that's wrong. Associate object. Go to definition. So let's go ahead and save that. And then we'll go to the definition, and we'll go to the type, and we want an ST renderer. ST renderer. And this is, to me, exactly how you want code to work. Let's see. Add this. F12. Yep, we got our first one. So basically we have all but 1, 2, 3, 4 our chat. And we could actually, at this point, we have a renderer ID, right? And the renderer ID has a scene ID. And we can come down to our scene ID and see what's in our scene. We also have a camera ID, so we can go down to the camera, which is number 2. We can go find the camera ID, which is this one, number 2, and then we can see where the camera's sitting at and what it's looking at, stuff like that. And look at is a good example of something that ThreeJS just doesn't keep that information. So you know, that's why it's good for me to. That's why in the animations I want to build, I want to be able to say, hey, you look at this. And if I move the camera, I want it to continue to look at whatever it was looking at. That's the behavior I want. They like ThreeJS, and I can't criticize this, but they like the idea that you move the camera and the camera it's just like in the real world, the camera maintains the same exact position, doesn't move with whatever it's looking at. But anyway, so that is that. Looks like we have like 4 more to go, and we are should be able to probably knock those out tomorrow. I don't know. It just depends. I'm going to log off a little early today because, like I said, I do have an important day at work today. Happy coding, everybody. Bye.